welcome. I'm just waiting for other viewers to arrive to explain where I am and to begin the transmission. It's kind of a surprise to everyone, and I know my American viewers will be fast asleep, so they won't be watching, but this is for all of you there in Australia, England, Ireland, in Italy and Europe and Poland who follow from Rome and got my notification. Or at least we'll get it in a few minutes. And if you are Polish, then you know where I am. I'm at one of the most famous monuments in the city of Warsaw. Good morning.
Po polsku tylko.
I don't speak Polish.
No to się nie dowiadam. Where are you from?
I'm from the United States.
Oh.
I'm from the United States, and I'm going to tell my followers on YouTube about the Warsaw Uprising.
Aha. To ja rozumiem. O 10 będzie tu dusza. About 10
I don't.
biskup,
You mean?
biskup Bandurski, Polish bishop, military bishop and non-official. Będzie msza.
We'll say mass here
O 10.
at 10 this morning. Okay, I did not know that.
Idziemy właśnie. Rozmawiamy po angielsku.
Okay. I'll say so. Right across the street is, I think, the Church of the Military Ordinate for the Polish Army. And this morning at 10 o'clock, the Bishop of the Military Ordinate for the Polish Army, the Catholic Bishop, will be celebrating Mass. And some faithful thought I was a military chaplain or something out here. And I don't know why, maybe because my habit is slightly green or something. And they were glad to see me. I'm doing this broadcast. Good morning, Maria Miazza. So this is in English, and excuse me, Italians, I will not be speaking in Italian. And because this is a monument to the Polish uprising and Warsaw, and it would be, I think it would be improper I speak anything other than Polish and English. English is my language. I don't know Polish, so I think I'm excused not speaking Polish, though I wish I could. Well, I arrived in Warsaw on Thursday evening, and you saw my transmission on Friday. Saturday, I took the day off. I was really tired, doing too many things and skipping meals, so I'm a bit more organized here on Sunday. And I'll be doing my broadcasts from important historical places in the city, so that as I tell you about the war in the Ukraine, you can learn also something about how beautiful Warsaw is and some of the places to visit. Now, if you're an American citizen coming to Poland, I'll give you a fact that you may not know and that I found out today. American citizens with driver's licenses cannot drive a car or a motorcycle in Poland unless they first go to the AAA office nearest them in the United States before leaving and get what's called an international driver's license. And if you don't get that, you can't rent a car in Poland. So it's very important before leaving the United States to get that. It only takes 15 minutes, but you can only get it in person. Boy, someone from Chicago, you're up at this hour? You're a real late nighter. And hello, Speed Crusader. So, as I said before, this transmission will only be in the English language. And I'll wait a few more minutes to get some more viewers on, surprising everyone with my broadcast here. And it's a lovely hour of the morning of March 6th here in Warsaw. And if you're curious about the current time in Warsaw is 9:37 in the morning. So you can see what the time differences is between us and the other parts of the world. And it's a crisp, dry morning. It feels like it's about... Excuse me for that interruption, but I got a phone call on this phone, so... hello, Andrew Poloni. And so I turned chat on for this broadcast because I want to interact with my readers. And excuse me for the interruption because I'm arranging to make an important visit this morning, and I'm going to be getting phone calls during this transmission which will interrupt it. And so if you have some difficulty, if you see me disappear for a moment, it's because I'm getting a phone call. And excuse me for not organizing my phone calls, so it's not on the phone where I'm doing the transmissions. But okay, so we are here at one of the most important places in modern Polish history, at the National Monument for the Warsaw Uprising of 1944. And I want to tell you the story. First, I'll show you the piazza. Here is the Catholic Church military ordinate that will have Mass this morning at 10 a.m., I think, for the soldiers' well-being, because of the risk now of war, even in Poland. And this behind me is the monument to the Warsaw Uprising. So I'm going to move the camera slightly now so that I can read to you the story of the uprising in the English language while I broadcast. Okay, and I'm going to be actually reading this from the tablets that are posted on the side, since this is an event in history that almost no one in the West knows about, or is barely covered when you study the history of the Second World War. And it's called the 1944 Warsaw Uprising. And the Warsaw Uprising against the German occupation broke out on the 1st of August, the feast of Our Lady of the Angels, in 1944. It was started by 23,000 poorly armed soldiers of the Home Army of the Warsaw District under the command of General Antoni Kruszczyk, codenamed Monter. Other underground units and Warsaw citizens joined the insurrection, asserting control civilian and military structures under the command of the Polish government of London, began functioning openly, organizing administrative, medical services, and the rescue squads. A massive inflow of volunteers swelled insurgent ranks to 50,000 troops. What began as an enthusiastic and spontaneous outbreak of fighting became a 63-day heroic struggle for the liberation of the city by the Home Army's own forces before the Red Army, whose units had already reached the suburbs of the Praga district of Warsaw, entered the capital. To quell the insurrection, the Germans reinforced their 15,000 local man garrison with army police and special SS and Luftwaffe units. Some of the units carried a notorious reputation for their cruelty and atrocities. The supremacy of the German military equipment was overwhelming. Air Force panzer and artillery were used against the insurgents, rifles, pistols, grenades, and petrol bombs. Superior military technology and brutality battled hope and unswerving will to fight for the control of the city. Fighting bravely, the insurgents captured the city center with the Old Town and the Vistula embankment, as well as several other districts of Warsaw, including Poswie, Zoliborz, parts of Wola, Ochota, Mokotów, and a few other sites in Praga, but they failed to seize the bridges and the airport. They succeeded in capturing some German arms and ammunition, and some groups of insurgents went to the woods near Warsaw to continue their struggle from there. Then, contrary to all expectations, the Red Army remained in their positions on the outskirts of Warsaw and refused to help the Polish insurgents. After 3 days of fighting, German forces seized the initiative, launching assaults by panzers and Stukas. They started destroying insurgent strongholds. In retaliation for the insurrection, German units began a program of mass extermination civilian population. Soon the city became an inferno, and the resistance started to weaken progressively in the insurgent-held areas. On the 14th of September, the Polish army, which formed part of the Red Army, entered the Praga district of eastern Warsaw. Its 2 battalions joined the insurgents and fought by their side in the Czerniakov era, but all attempts to seize bridgeheads in the Posueli and Zoliborsk districts failed. Lacking food and ammunition and weakened by the Red Army's refusal to cooperate, the commander-in-chief of the Home Army, General Tadeusz Komorowski, surrendered on the 2nd of October 1944. The insurgents became prisoners of war, and the population of Warsaw was deported, some to labor and concentration camps. The deserted city was looted, destroyed, and burned, and the old town with its beautiful architecture was razed to the ground. More than 40,000 Polish insurgents and about 180,000 civilians were killed or wounded. A large number of Allied pilots flying airdrop missions were also killed. On the German side, an estimated 25,000 troops were killed, wounded, or missing in action. The Warsaw Uprising Monument was unveiled on Krasinski Square, a site of fierce fighting, on the 1st of August 1989. It was designed by Professor Wincenty Kuskma and architect Jacek Budina, and erected with donated funds. It consists of 2 groups of sculptures, a commemorative wall, and an insurgent center. One group of sculptures depicts an attack by insurgent units, and the other an exodus or withdrawal by commemorative plaque. The monument is maintained by the Association of Warsaw Insurgents. So you can see this is this monument represents a monumental moment in the history of Catholic Poland and of Polish identity. And it shows both the heroism of the Poles and the hatred they received at the hands of National Socialists in Germany and Bolshevik communists in Russia. And here we have an example of the Catholics attacked by both the fascists and the Marxists, who are both agents of international Freemasonry and have the objective of destroying Catholics. The Red Army stood by and let the Poles get slaughtered. And that should remind everyone of how dangerous it is to trust any political party that is not Catholic. Because insofar as it be under the influence or control of Freemasonry, its real objective, and its only objective, is to destroy the Catholic Church. And this is the truth that almost no one will tell you. And so when you ever hear a Catholic priest telling you to vote for a non-Catholic party, pay him no attention. He's either deceived or he himself is just an Iscariot. So let me move back to, I'm going to get a bit closer to these monuments so you can see them. Here's a rather strange-looking monument. It shows insurgents sneaking through the storm drains. The storm drains were used by the insurgents to move around the city unobserved, and they excavated huge labyrinths of tunnels to prepare for this insurrection. And to this day, they occasionally unearth, while building new buildings, huge masses of dead under the city, where either they were killed during the insurgency or the Germans killed and murdered them at other times. And adjacent to the soldiers sneaking the gutter, here's a Catholic priest praying for them. I don't know if that represents there were certainly chaplains involved in this fight too. And on this side here, we can see. Let me get a bit closer to this one here. Here shows the insurgents coming out of their hiding places and attacking the Wehrmacht, the German army. So you might be wondering, why did I come here today for my second report on the Ukrainian war? The Warsaw Rising of 1944 was a heroic but last desperate attempt for the Polish people to liberate themselves. Uh, they had been conquered in 1939. They had a military that really was unequal and unprepared for the German assault. They were betrayed by diplomatic promises of England and France, who never came to their aid. Their country was carved up in a matter of 40 or so days by using military tactics very similar to what Putin is using in the Ukraine right now. And the Ukraine, there are many parallels here. Ukraine is poorly equipped militarily. It doesn't have a military equal to that of Russia. It was promised defense by the United States and England, who never intervened and broke their promises. It's a Christian nation, and it is being attacked because the World Economic Forum told Putin he could have it. And Europe is supporting the Ukrainian military by giving them some hardware, but it's really not a full defense. And volunteers are coming from all around the world. 300, I think, are coming from England, and 3,000 or so from the United States, in addition to those foreigners coming from all nations to serve in the Foreign Legion for the Ukrainian army. And this Warsaw uprising reminds us that it is far easier to have a strong military defense of your country and not be invaded than to lose a war and then have to rebel to break off the yoke of oppression. There are a lot more casualties in the second case. And this is why I am a big defender and supporter of the rights to bear arms. And I hope that the Polish government understands the example and the important testimony being given to the world by the Ukrainian people. The Ukrainian people have the right to bear arms. And they are putting up an absolutely heroic defense of their country, which will live in the history books. The Polish people do not have the legal right to bear arms. If they were to be attacked now, unless the government would immediately give them arms, there would be little they could do. But not having the right to bear arms, they don't know how to use guns, most of them. So how could they be an effective fighting force? And this is true of many nations. Ukraine is showing us today that the best defense of a nation are people who love their country and have the right to bear arms. And this is a point in the war that none of the mainstream media are talking about because they're very anti-gun, but needs to be emphasized. The other thing I'd point out is that a Christian nation loves its country and is willing to defend itself. And there's a lovely story that came out the other day of the Russians who sent some drones into a Polish city. And an old lady with a big jar of pickles that she had made at home destroyed the drone by throwing it from her balcony. Now, this lady has one good baseball arm, I have to say that. And that must have been a pretty big jar of pickles, but they love pickles here in the Slavic country. So that's really amazing. She loved her country so much, she's going to risk her life and go out there and try with this jar of pickles. I don't know how many jar of pickles she used before she hit the thing, but it's a really amazing thing. And it shows you that despite all the trolls on social media, the Ukrainian people really love their country and are willing to come out and risk their lives and everything and do whatever they can to keep their country free. They've been oppressed for so many centuries, and now they just want to be free and run their own country. And as I published on From Rome the other day, their national anthem, you can see that it's all about that. They are living their national anthem in this war, and they're showing the world that they mean what they sing in that anthem. And that is a truly splendid example for all the world to see. Now, in addition to the example given by the Polish people in the Warsaw Uprising and now the Ukrainian people in their war, I want to point out something that a lot of people are having a hard time to understand. And I'm getting lots of criticism at From Rome from people I've never heard of. from trolls who have never commented, and although there are some number of the From Rome readers that say that they are confused. So the FromRome.Info, my electronic journal, is a Catholic publication, and everything I do and say on it follows Catholic principles. I don't follow the political ideology of the United States or of NATO or of the EU or of Russia or of China or of Italy or any country. I am not an ideologue. I am not political. I follow only the moral principles taught by Jesus Christ and explained by his saints. And so my position on the conflict in the Ukraine is that only the Ukrainians have the just right of war. Their cause alone is just because they didn't invade the Russians and they didn't threaten Russians with military force. And I'm somewhat surprised at the number of Russian trolls out there and the number of people who have allowed themselves to become psychologically manipulated by Russian propaganda over the last 12 years. You have to understand that Russian propaganda against the West and globalist propaganda against the West coincide with the destruction of Christianity and aim for the destruction of Christianity. And don't think that because the leader of one nation is a globalist, that the guy attacking him is not a globalist. They're both globalists. They're both friends of both Ukraine and Russia vaccinated their people. Okay? So I'm all for the defending of the innocent. There's nothing I can do about what has happened. I have been a big advocate against this scandemic from the beginning. But here, in the defense of the Ukrainian people, my position is to defend the innocent. The Ukrainians have a right to self-existence, and any country that attempts to take that way is committing an international crime. And if you personally like one leader and personally like hate a leader, I don't care what your personal preferences are. I'm a disciple of Christ, and I'm going to follow the moral law, regardless of what the personal preferences of my readers are. So you might have liked the From Rome Journal in the past. You may not like it in the future. There's nothing I can do about that. But if you're a true disciple of Christ, you will see that both in the past, in the present, and in the future, I will be following Christian Catholic principles. And I don't veer one iota from that. And that might strongly be abhorrent to you because you make decisions based on political expediency, ideology, or you think that, if your leader's not so hot, then your country should be invaded. I don't hold those opinions. I think even if my leaders in my country were corrupt, I should defend my country from invasion. Okay, so we're not talking about a crusade here. Russia is not involved in a crusade to liberate the Ukraine from a satanic government. They're not involved in that because Putin didn't say that's what he was doing. He said he was out to denazify the Ukraine. Well, the number of pro-Nazis in the Ukraine is so small that why would you be attacking the whole country when you're just looking after them? So it doesn't make any sense. The president and the prime minister of the Ukraine are Jewish. Calling them Nazis or their government Nazi is, it's cheap it's low-grade propaganda. And we all need to constantly think about the news and what governments are saying. And you won't see me publishing open propaganda on From Rome. And I think twice before I publish a story to see if it's verified and makes any sense. I'm not going to be publishing stories about the personal lives of Putin or Zelensky. That is irrelevant, and that's what you call diversionary propaganda. And Russia is mobilizing lots of trolls on social media because they're trying to attack in every possible way those who would defend the Ukraine. And they'll probably resort to every trick in the book. But they're promoting racism. The Russians are promoting racism on social media. They're saying, well, you should hate the Ukrainians because they did something bad to you, or they're not entirely white. I've seen propaganda that says the Ukrainians are Jewish and therefore you should let them suffer, or the Ukrainians are Nazis, you should let them suffer. The Ukrainian government is pro-gay, so you should let all Ukrainians suffer. They're using arguments that don't make any sense in Christian ethics. is everyone in the Ukraine guilty for the sins of some people in the Ukraine? If we accept that principle, why aren't we fighting a revolution to overthrow our own government? And if you have political leaders that are as morally reprehensible as leaders of other nations, then from your basement on a keyboard, don't start saying it's okay they get overthrown, but it, my government's fine by me. I'm not going to do anything about it. That's the epitome of cowardice. That's the epitome of hypocrisy. And some people going wild by what I'm saying here because I say it right to the point. You know, I'm putting my finger right on the open wound of hypocrisy, and people don't like that. Well, what can I say? I made it very clear while I'm here in Warsaw why I'm getting involved in this human tragedy. And, you know, if that offends your racism, your pagan nationalism, your ideological agenda, what can I say? I'm not here to defend the enemies of Christ. I'm here to defend Christians. And if you don't think I'm allowed to do that, that's your opinion. But don't tell me I'm not going to do that. And don't tell me that I need to open up the comment section and From Rome and allow different opinions. I'm not going to allow different opinions because I don't agree with them. From Rome, I've never been an advocate on my own blog of that kind of Masonic concept of free speech. If you're going to be if you're going to promote lies to defend what Russia is doing in the Ukraine from any angle whatsoever, I'm not going to publish your comment. I'm sorry. Don't even ask it. You don't know who I am. You haven't read my blog a long time. Just like I never allowed people who defended the World Economic Forum and their agenda to speak at From Rome. I'm sorry if you don't like that, you know. And so, for those of you who are Polish, I wish I could speak Polish to you, but I want to organize a network of volunteers in Poland for both the humanitarian work I'm doing for Ukrainian refugees and for the effort of raising a Catholic brigade to serve under Ukrainian military command for the defense of the Ukraine. Greater love no man has than to lay down his life for his friends. The Ukrainians are Christians. We should consider them our friends. They're suffering injustice that they did not merit to suffer. And it is a great Christian work of mercy and of charity to come to their aid. And it is great heroism to rush to help them. And I am looking for volunteers of that moral fiber and of that nobility of soul. So I want to thank you for joining me for this my brief second report about the war in the Ukraine from here, the site of the National Monument for the Polish Uprising of 1944. God bless you. This is Brother Alexis Bugnolo from FromRome.Info, reporting live. Now I will take any questions from the audience. And so if you have questions, as I see them pop up, I will reply. Yes, Marion Soldier, I agree. And I think all these events are bringing the world to recognize that one thing by the other. Because when people see that someone doesn't want to do it and others do it, they'll begin to understand who's really on the side of God. Stephanie Tillman, you're doing the right thing, and we should all be doing that. We should all be praying for that, a great grace. The world needs it right now. And the idea that you can invade countries, take them over, and subjugate their people subjugate their Christian people is just, it's not a Christian concept. And unjust war is not a Christian concept. So any other questions? Any questions? No questions? Okay, I'll end my transmission. God bless you one and all. And I will be doing a live transmission tomorrow.